Hello everybody, and today we are going to be checking out a scenario where a new continent surfaces in WICSO. Now, if you don't know what WICSO is, then it's just like a big blob of colored nations. And all you need to know is that every different color is a different nation, but we're going to be seeing if a new continent appeared in the Atlantic Ocean. So let's get straight into making our continent, and also, if you are not subscribed, then please consider liking and subscribing. It helps out the channel a ton. We are trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and let's get straight into the video. So in order for there to be a new continent, we are going to have to create it. So I'm going to start it over here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I think it can kind of just like link up some of these islands. So at the end, the line connecting the southwest of our continent looks like this. And it is just going to continue up north, starting to head towards the coast of America. Eventually, it will link up in the South Carolinian areas. Next, it's going to shoot out from the Labrador Islands. It continues and it starts to spear up north, but then it's just going to continue to go down and it kind of like forms a gulf. But eventually, it links up over here in this peninsula in Iberia. It's going to go down the coast of Africa till at one point it's just going to split off here from this peninsula. And simply enough, it is just going to link up over here in Brazil. So these are the basic lines we have for our continent. I am going to create a couple lakes. Alright, it's not my finest work, but it'll have to do. I'm also going to create a couple of islands. Alright, so this is what we have our continent looking like, and now we can officially color it in. And with the white colored in, we can see our map now looking like this. First of all, we need to decipher who is the strongest country bordering this continent, and I think that would go to West Africa. So we're also going to assume that all of these countries have ambitions of expanding. So we see West Africa making their first claim. It is going to be in this territory right over here. They are going to make an attempt to try and cut off the Iberian country, but they are just going to finish it like that. And actually, you know what? I will keep the borders here just for a little continuity because, it's pretty cool to actually have the borders there and see them. And this puts a lot of countries on high alert because they want to get some land out of this as well. Especially America. They have been very embarrassed, but now they're looking to redeem themselves. They're going to make their claim going here from the eastward areas of the Carolinas, and it's going to just stretch into the unknown territory, and it's going to link up here in New Jersey. So that's what it looks like. Once again, I am keeping the borders here because I think it looks pretty cool to just kind of see the continent versus what countries will take. And I guess I'll erase the borders at the end of the video, so you guys better watch. Next country is going to be the pink country. They're going to extend their claim down here into these areas. I'm not really sure what to call it. By the end of the day, it looks like this. Next, we're going to see the Mauritanian country. They are going to make their claim, and it's actually going to be pretty ambitious, going around the Gulf in a task to where they want to claim the entirety of this area. So they look a little something like that. And this continent is pretty massive, so it would take a very long time for it actually to be completely filled up. But time isn't really a thing we have to abide by. The Iberians are now going to make their claim. They go and take all of this. Those are really similar colors, but I'm sure it'll be okay. Next, we're going to see Brazil. Brazil has been a very interesting country in recent times. And yeah, they're just going to start expanding. The AN most likely does not exist in this scenario because if it did, then it would most likely fall under AN control. And countries like America and Brazil and West Africa would not be able to expand this much. But Brazil takes this. And Venezuela is actually going to make a pretty large claim, even bigger than Brazil's, I'm pretty sure. And this is because Venezuela has a lot of support behind them. They were oppressed by Brazil. So the push to get more than Brazil is more than likely very high. Now we're going to see the Caribbean country. The Caribbean country, not quite sure if they are powerful enough to establish a colony, but, we're just going to say they can. At the end of the day, it's just colors on a map, so they get this. But with the Caribbean intrusion into the continent, we're going to see America start to ramp up their colonization department, and they are going to make a very large claim extending out from this to that. And the Unitarians, it is pretty interesting to kind of decipher or see what they would do in this scenario. They're trying to unite everybody, and I think taking a lot of land would be uniting. So they are going to create their claim. It's a big controversy, and, that doesn't really matter here, because they are going to take these territories in the continent, now stretching over to this really big lake. They are going to take the territory up to here. Also, I didn't mention this earlier, but this is the map of episode 87. Going back over here to West Africa, they are going to make their claim, and it is going to be the biggest claim we've seen yet. Also, just something I'd like to mention is that the countries, when they claim this territory, they pause and like try and move their population out there. And West Africa has done a pretty good job doing that, so they're just going to go ahead and take this. And now America is going to lay claim to this island. But to America's dismay, the Caribbean country is going to establish another colony right here. But the Caribbean people, they are kind of reaching their limit in terms of how much they can expand. But someone who does not know when to stop expanding is Brazil. They are just going to take this entire area, and it's going to link up with this southern lake and is going to head down, and this is going to be the largest amount of territory that has been taken by a country on this continent so far. Including this, they also take this island. Mauritania is going to continue their campaign of trying to take the entire Gulf, and they're actually doing a pretty good job at that. So with them taking this territory, a lot of countries are going to realize that this is a massive opportunity to take territory. And these guys already realize that, but some countries outside of the continent are going to realize that. One of those countries being the Iberians. They are going to take the territory all the way up to here, and they're actually going to officially box in the South Iberians. So they're going to take this. But next we're going to see two countries. Primarily they are in Europe, and this is going to be the Irish country, who is going to establish their colony on this peninsula, and the French country, who is going to take the territory around the archipelago. So all in all, that will look a little something like this. The final country we have landing in this continent officially is going to be the Orange country. They are going to kind of finish up the Gulf for Mauritania. Sorry, my voice is not doing me well. But Mauritania is really upset because they wanted to take this territory, but, now you can't. But Brazil does have a lot of interest in taking the territory over here, so they are going to immediately claim that, even if it does get them a little bit of economic unprosperity, I guess. The Venezuelans pushed their claim further in, attempting to get to the lake for economic incentives and just population as well. So they take this. The Pink country will expand their territory here, attempting to also get to some of the lakes, because for all you know, at the lake bed there could be a whole bunch of gold, so a lot of countries are kind of riding on this. But at this point, we have to put into perspective that this is right after World War V, and I'm going to be putting that aside a little bit, because if the full economic strains of World War V were in effect here, then it would probably not look like this. It would look just blankly white. But getting that out of the way, we see the Orange country is going to expand their territory, and like a lot of their neighbors, attempting to reach this lake. And that is for good reason, because Brazilian scientists have just discovered gold on the bed of this lake. Primarily, it is centralized a little bit by the coast, but not in the center, so these are the most commonly found areas of gold are. So this is going to start to push the economic incentives of the country's actions to an all-time high. Venezuela is going to take a very thin strip of territory that kind of guarantees they get a piece of land on the coastline, though it is very small. The rest of the territory is now inherited by Brazil. The Orange team will make contact with the lake, looking a little something like this, and like the other area, we're going to see Brazil take the rest. But we're going to be seeing something happening in the Caribbean country. They are going to have a little bit of a colonial rebellion. Specifically, this area down here is going to break away and form their own nation. There's not really much the Caribbeans can do about this, but they are just going to have to let them go, and their capital will be over here. And now we have our first country born on this continent, and they're immediately going to take a lot of territory. The problem with the Caribbean country is that they were very far away, and they're trying to make a colony, and this is the actual colony with the mainland in the continent, so they have a lot more drive and people supporting them to do this. So they're going to go ahead and take this, while Venezuela is going to push up on their border, looking like this. But interestingly, we are going to see the Caribbeans, they're going to hold on to this, and that's really all they can take, because America is now kind of just boxing them in officially, taking that. And now the West Africans are going to take a very large portion of this. They are just going to go ahead and take, all of this. The Iberian colony is going to expand a lot inward, and they are going to link up with the French colony. Speaking of the French colony, they are going to make a massive claim as well. European powers tend to do this, but a side effect is, colonial rebellion. And the Unitarians and the Irish are going to make a treaty dividing up the northwestern territories. So the Unitarians agree that everything west of this line is theirs, and the Irish can take whatever they want east. So they are going to take a lot, expanding down south also trying to get to the lake, but Ireland is pretty well off economically, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue for them. America will expand their claim very far, establishing a treaty with the dark red country. So after all is said and done, the treaty gives both of these countries this piece of territory, and the Venezuelans will begin to expand their coastline on this lake. The orange team will also make a big attempt to try and take a lot of territory, so they do that. And the Mauritanian country will take this, so it looks a little something like that. But now West Africa and the orange team are going to establish a treaty, and it's going to spear out here from the furthest most point from the Mauritanian country, going up here. And it's going to take a lot of territory for the orange team, but also a lot of territory for the West Africans. They're going to continue to expand out here in the west, taking a lot of the territory by the Iberian border, but this is going to give them this. The Iberians will expand inward, but now the Iberians, the French, and the Irish are going to establish a treaty. Ireland is going to take everything up to here. The French are going to take all of this, and the Iberians will take all of this. So coloring it in, it looks a little something like that. And West Africa is going to go ahead and take the rest of the area over here. The orange team will take this territory, starting to get to this like skinny area. And now there's not a lot of continent left. But the Unitarians are going to fix that. Holy hell, they're taking a lot of territory. Well, I guess the Unitarians take this. The pink team is just going to go ahead and take all of this territory, looking like that. And America is going to take even more territory than the Unitarians. Now their country is going to look like this. This red country is going to expand inwards all the way to here. Venezuela will expand all the way up to here. And the final treaty will be America taking this, the orange team taking everything up to here, and Venezuela takes the rest. Alright, so now we see our continent has appeared here, and now I am going to erase the previous coastlines of the countries, because of course it is now inherited into the beautiful continent. So without the previous coastlines of the countries, that is going to look like this. And that will do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, then please consider liking and subscribing. This could be a part 1 of a potential 2-part series, so this was kind of just like dividing up the continent. And in the next episode, I guess it could be like what could happen after. But that is all up to you guys. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy them, please consider liking and subscribing. Once again, we are trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.